The 911 center was unusually loud for a Tuesday evening. Phones rang in overlapping shrill bursts, chairs rolled back and forth, and dispatchers shouted details over glowing screens. But then, amid all the chaos, a single alert tone cut through the room like a blade. A silent call. Dispatcher Helen Parker looked up sharply. Line 7. Open connection, no voice, no background noise. Her pulse jumped. She'd worked over 30 years in emergency services, long enough to know the difference between a child prank, a pocket dial, and the terrifying quiet of someone who couldn't speak. Line 7. No caller response, she muttered, sliding her headset on. 911, what's your emergency? Nothing. Hello? Can you hear me? Still nothing. Not even breathing. Behind her, one of the younger dispatchers, Tyler, snickered. Probably another spam call, Helen, or one of those bored teens again. You boomers worry too much. She shot him a cold, steady look, the kind that could freeze fire. I've taken silent calls from women with broken jaws, from veterans having strokes, from children hiding under beds, she said. So unless you've got 30 years of ghosts whispering in your ear, don't tell me what to worry about. Tyler swallowed hard and walked away. Helen returned her attention to the dead silent line. Okay, sweetheart, she said softly, instinctively slipping into the calm, motherly tone that had saved more lives than she could count. If you can't talk, tap something. 1 tap for yes, 2 taps for no. Nothing. Then, abruptly, a faint clicking sound. Metal? Wood? She couldn't tell. Her posture stiffened. Okay, good. I hear you, Helen whispered. I need you to stay with me. Just 1 sound if you're in danger. Click. Helen breathed in sharply. There it was. The signal she dreaded. All right, now I need you to tell me where you are. Anything you can do. Tap, scratch, hit something. Silence again. Too long. Helen's fingers flew across her keyboard, tracing call. Then her screen flashed with a location. Her stomach dropped. It couldn't be. No, not there. God, she breathed. Not again. At that moment, Sergeant Tom Reeves entered the dispatch floor, coffee in hand, gray hair still messy from a day packed with back-to-back calls. He immediately noticed Helen's expression. What's wrong? He asked. She turned her monitor toward him. Tom's face went pale. That place has been sealed for 20 years. No one should be inside. But the trace didn't lie. The abandoned Willow Creek Children's Reform School, a building infamous in town, a place whispered about on porches and church steps, a place older folks still refuse to drive past after dark. Tom stared at Helen. You think this is real? She didn't blink. Someone just called us from inside that building, someone who can't speak, someone who tapped once for yes when I asked if they were in danger. Tom's jaw clenched. I'll grab a unit. As he turned away, another click came through the headset. 3 rapid taps. Urgent, desperate. Tom, wait! Helen shouted after him. The entire dispatch center turned to look. She listened carefully, her face draining of color as the hidden message became clear. Helen? Tom asked, frozen mid-step. She removed her headset slowly, her eyes wide, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not one person. They're not alone in there. She swallowed hard. There are children in the background. Sergeant Tom Reeves drove faster than he should have, the cruiser's engine humming low as it tore down the 2-lane road that led out of town. Red and blue lights weren't activated. He didn't want attention yet, and the sky outside was already falling into a deep orange dusk. Shadows stretched long across the pavement. The closer he got to Willow Creek Children's Reform School, the heavier the air felt, like the world itself was warning him to turn back. In the passenger seat, Officer Dana Hughes, young but competent, reviewed the dispatch notes. No voice, single tap for yes, multiple taps later. Caller location confirmed inside the structure, she read. Access point, unknown. Tom tightened his grip on the wheel. That building should have been demolished years ago. What stopped it? Dana asked. Tom shot her a look, one that said, "You really don't want the full story." But she pressed again anyway. Why would kids be in there? Homeless? Runaways? He didn't answer right away. Finally, he exhaled. The place was shut down after the abuse allegations. You weren't here yet. You were probably still in high school. But the town still remembers. Dana nodded slowly, sensing there was more but choosing not to push. Miles behind them, in the dispatch center, Helen Parker sat gripping the receiver, unwilling to disconnect the silent caller. She had seen too much, saved too many, and lost more than she cared to admit. The faint tapping had stopped, but she still heard tiny sounds, soft scraping, distant movement, like small hands or feet shifting on old wood. Every time she thought she heard whispering, her heart clenched. "Hang on, little ones," she whispered. She kept the line active. The cruiser pulled up to the rusted outer fence of Willow Creek. The school towered behind it, its broken windows like hollow eyes watching the officers approach. Brick walls stained from decades of rain and neglect rose 3 stories high, crowned with barbed wire curls that had long since fallen into disrepair. A cold wind rattled through the branches above, and a loose shutter banged repeatedly like someone knocking from inside. Dana shivered. "I didn't realize it was this big." Tom nodded grimly. At one point, it housed almost 100 kids. He parked, killed the engine, and both officers stepped out into the chilly air. Dana scanned the deserted lot, overgrown weeds, patches of cracked asphalt, wild vines creeping up the main building, like nature trying to reclaim what humans abandoned. "Dispatch, Unit 4 arriving at site," Tom radioed. Helen's voice came back immediately, tight with worry. "Copy, Unit 4. Lines still open. No audio except faint movement. Caller location unchanged." "Understood," Tom said. "We're going in for visual confirmation." Dana approached the main gates. A thick chain, rusted and stiff, held them shut. "Looks like no one's been in or out for years," she murmured. Tom disagreed. "Look closer." Dana crouched, squinting. The chain was old, yes, but the padlock was not. The metal was shiny, recently purchased, recently placed. Someone locked this from the outside, intentionally. "Lock cutters?" Dana asked, reaching for the equipment bag. Tom grabbed the heavy bolt cutters, took position, and with a firm crunch, snapped the lock clean in half. The chain slid loose with a metallic clatter that echoed unnervingly across the empty lot. As they pushed open the gates, a gust of cold air swept through, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of old mildew and something else, something faint, something like copper. Dana froze. "You smell that?" Tom did. His expression hardened. "Stay sharp." They walked across the lot, boots crunching debris, flashlights cutting through the dimming light. The main entrance loomed ahead, double wooden doors, faded green paint peeling off in curled strips. One door hung slightly ajar. "Great, that's not creepy at all," Dana muttered. Tom pushed the door open further. It groaned, like something waking up from a long sleep. Inside, the air was dank. The entrance hall was coated in dust, old paint flakes and bits of fallen ceiling plaster. Children's drawings, crude stick figures, faded rainbows still clung to the walls in brittle fragments. But the disturbing part wasn't the decay. It was the footprints. Small ones. Barefoot. Fresh. Dozens of them. Dana's breath hitched. "We definitely have kids inside." Tom nodded, jaw tight.
The caller wasn't lying. Helen's steady voice came over the radio again. "Unit 4, be advised, the tapping is resumed." Tom paused. "Tapping pattern?" Helen hesitated. When she spoke, her voice cracked slightly. "It sounds scared, panicked, and it's getting faster." Dana swallowed hard. She could hear faint echoes inside the building, like movement on the floors above them. A soft thump, a scrape, then silence. "Where are they?" she whispered. "Third floor, west wing," answered Helen. Tom sighed. Of course it had to be the west wing. Dana blinked. "What's wrong with the west wing?" He started walking, forcing his legs to move. That's where the worst accusations came from, the isolation rooms, the ones they never... A sudden slam cut through the hallway. Both officers spun around, flashlights pointed down the corridor. Nothing there, but the echo of the slam lingered. "Was that a door?" Dana whispered. Tom didn't answer. He didn't need to. The sound had come from somewhere deeper inside, the building shifting, or someone moving. "Let's move," he ordered quietly. They proceeded through the dark hall, passing old classrooms with broken desks, overturned chairs, and chalkboards smeared with ghosts of words long erased. The deeper they went, the colder it grew. Dana rubbed her arms. "Feels like the temperature dropped 20 degrees. Is that normal?" Tom shook his head. "Old buildings don't get colder this fast." A sudden tapping sound echoed from above. Tom and Dana froze. Tap. Tap, tap. Tap. Dana whispered. "That's the same pattern Helen heard." Tom spoke into his radio. "Dispatch, can you confirm that tapping is still coming through the line?" Helen's reply was immediate and chilling. "Negative. I'm not hearing it on the line anymore." Tom lowered the radio slowly. "But we're hearing it in here." The tapping continued, now faster, as if whoever was making it was scared, urging them to hurry. "Third floor," Tom said. "We go now." They approached the staircase. The wooden steps were steep, warped, and unstable. Tom stepped carefully, testing each board before shifting his weight. Dana followed, heartbeat thundering in her ears. Halfway up, Dana noticed holes in the wall, as if someone had scratched through the plaster with fingernails. Small fingernails. She swallowed bile. On the second-floor landing, a cold draft swept past them from a shattered window. Then, faintly, they heard it. A child's whimper. Dana gasped. "Tom, there's someone up there." He nodded grimly. "And they're not alone." They climbed the final flight. The tapping grew louder. The cold grew. At the top, they entered the West Wing hallway, the darkest part of the building. Doors lined the corridor, heavy, reinforced doors, each with a small grated window at the top. Old isolation rooms. One door at the far end was slightly open. Inside, something moved. Tom raised his flashlight. "On me. Move slow." Dana drew her gun. Flashlights pierced the shadows. They reached the door. Tom pushed it open. What they saw inside stopped both officers cold, because they realized the children weren't the only ones in the building. Someone else was in the room. Someone watching them.
The door creaked as Tom pushed it open, the beam of his flashlight slicing through the darkness like a blade. Dust danced in the light. A sour draft spilled from the room, carrying the unmistakable smell of something old and something frightened. Dana stepped in beside him, weapon raised. "Clear left," she whispered. "Clear right," Tom responded, but nothing about the room felt clear. The space was long and narrow, walls lined with peeling blue paint. A rusted metal cot sat in the corner. Deep scratches clawed through the plaster, frantic, messy, overlapping, the kind made by someone desperate to get out. But the worst part wasn't the cot or the walls. It was the sound. A soft whispering. Not one voice, not two. Dozens. Layered, faint, like children murmuring secrets behind cupped hands. Dana froze. "Tell me you hear that." Tom didn't want to. "Yeah, I hear it." He stepped forward, scanning the room. There was no one there, No movement, no obvious source of the sound, just whispers swirling through the stale air like trapped breath. Then, something shifted in the corner. Dana aimed her flashlight. Movement! Bottom left! Tom lowered his weapon and crouched. Behind the cot, half hidden under a torn blanket, was a small shape, curled into a trembling ball. A child. A boy. Filthy, pale, hair matted, maybe 6 years old, maybe 7. His tiny shoulders shook with each breath. But the moment Tom shined the light on him, the boy pressed himself into the wall, shaking violently. "No, no, no, don't hurt me! Don't make me go back!" he whimpered. Dana holstered her weapon instantly. "Hey, sweetheart, no one's going to hurt you," she whispered. Tom lowered himself slowly, hands open and empty. "Buddy, we're police. You called 911. We're here to help." The boy flinched at every word. His eyes, wide, glassy, terrified, darted around the room as if expecting someone else to step out of the shadows. "Are you alone?" Tom asked gently. The boy shook his head so hard his teeth chattered. Tom exchanged a look with Dana. If he wasn't alone, who else was here? Dana crouched next to Tom. "What's your name, sweetheart?" The boy hesitated. Then, in a cracked whisper, "Eiley." Tom nodded, voice steady. "Okay, Eiley, you're safe now, but we need to know, who else is in the building with you?" Eiley's lips trembled, tears gathered in his eyes. He lifted a shaking finger and pointed behind them. Both officers spun around. Nothing there, just more darkness and the empty hallway. Dana's voice tightened. "What did you see?" Eiley tucked his chin to his chest, shaking. "Her." "Her?" Tom repeated. "Who's her?" Eiley's whisper was barely audible now. "The Whisper Lady." A chill ran down Tom's spine. Dana's throat bobbed. "Eiley, did she lock you in here?" The boy nodded, face crumpling. "She takes kids. She tells us to be quiet. She says nobody cares." Dana leaned in closer. "How many kids are here?" Eiley's breath hitched. "Lots." Tom stood slowly, flashlight scanning the room again. "We need to move them out, fast." But before he could say another word, Eiley grabbed Tom's sleeve with surprising strength. "Shh!" the boy hissed. Tom froze. Dana did too. The whispering in the room stopped, instantly, replaced by utter, suffocating silence. Eiley's eyes widened in horror. "She's coming." Dana drew her weapon again. "Tom!" He raised a hand to quiet her. A heavy creak echoed down the hallway. Then another. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, purposeful. Someone was walking towards them. Tom's pulse kicked into overdrive. "Lights off," he whispered. They clicked off their flashlights and crouched low. The hallway outside was dark, the faint moonlight barely slicing in through the broken windows at the far end. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Dana's voice tightened. "Dispatch didn't say anything about an adult on site." Tom's jaw clenched. "Eiley did." Then another sound, a dragging scrape, like fingernails skimming along the wall. Eiley whimpered and buried his face in Tom's shoulder. Tom held him tighter, shielding the boy with his own body. The scraping grew louder, closer, right outside the door. Dana aimed at the threshold, her breath shallow but controlled. The footsteps stopped, right on the other side of the door. Silence swallowed the room. Tom slowly reached a hand toward the door, ready to slam it shut if someone tried to enter. Dana steadied her gun. A faint voice, female, hoarse, low, drifted from the hallway. "Where are my quiet babies?" Dana's stomach knotted. It wasn't the soft sing-song voice of a caretaker. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't warm. It sounded hungry, possessive, twisted. Eiley clung harder, digging his small fingers into Tom's vest. Tom mouthed, "We have to move." Dana nodded. He leaned to Eiley. "Buddy, can you walk?" Eiley shackily nodded. Tom pointed to the opposite corner.
On my signal, head to that door. We're going to take you outside. Understand? Eiley swallowed hard and nodded. The footsteps resumed, passing them, slow and dragging, like the woman was listening for breath. Tom counted silently. 1, 2, 3. Go, he hissed. They moved. Tom scooped Eiley into his arms while Dana covered them, flashlight flicking on and a sharp, blinding beam behind them. They bolted out of the room. Hallway rush, dust rising, the sound of their boots thundering on the warped floorboards. Then, a scream. Not from Eiley, not from Dana, from the woman behind them. A shrill, high-pitched, blood-curdling shriek that didn't sound fully human. Dana risked a look back. For a split second, her flashlight caught something in the shadows, something pale, hunched with tangled streaks of hair, and a face turned towards them in unnatural angles. Dana's breath froze. "Tom!" yelled Tom. "Move!" They sprinted down the hallway, Eiley sobbing against Tom's chest. Behind them, the woman's footsteps erupted into a sprint, fast, too fast, slamming into the walls as she charged. Dana fired a warning shot. The boom echoed.
The woman shrieked, skidding away from the flash of the muzzle. Tom spotted the stairwell ahead. "Downstairs! Go!" They reached the top step and stopped cold. Standing on the staircase was another child, a girl, maybe 10, eyes hollow, skin pale. She whispered, "You shouldn't have come." Tom's gut twisted. "Sweetheart, it's okay. We're here to get you out." She shook her head slowly. "She won't let us leave." Tom took a step forward. The girl stepped back, and behind her, a large shadow slid across the wall. Tom's heart dropped. The Whisper Lady wasn't just behind them, she was below them too. They were surrounded. Dana's whisper was raw. "What the hell is happening in this place?" Tom tightened his grip on Eli. He had no idea, but they weren't leaving without the children. All of them. And whatever the Whisper Lady was, they were about to face her head-on. Tom held Eli tighter as the girl on the stairs stared at them with eyes far too empty for someone so young. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even blinking. She stood perfectly still, like someone who had learned long ago that movement invited punishment. Dana kept her weapon raised, her stance steady but her breath tight enough to betray the fear creeping beneath her professionalism. "Sweetheart," Tom tried again gently, "we're not here to hurt you. We're here to help." The girl tilted her head, a slow, unnatural motion, as if the bones in her neck moved wrong. Her dark hair fell across her face. When she spoke, her voice was faint, almost swallowed. "She said you would come." Dana whispered. "Who said that?" The girl's lips barely moved. "The Whisper Lady." A cold draft swept through the stairwell, brushing past Tom's neck like a cold fingertip. Eli whimpered and buried his face deeper into Tom's shoulder. His trembling fingers gripped Tom's vest so tight it almost hurt. Behind them, the floorboards groaned again. The sound of slow footsteps. Tom's pulse spiked. "Dana, she's behind us." "I know," Dana murmured through clenched teeth. The girl on the stairs backed up one careful step, then another, as if making space. No, more like positioning herself, not toward safety, but toward whatever waited below. "We're boxed in," Dana whispered, "top and bottom." Tom knew. He also knew firing blindly down the steps or into the hallway wasn't an option. Kids were everywhere, hidden, terrified, and the Whisper Lady, whatever she really was, moved too unpredictably. He needed to think. Fast. "Okay," Tom murmured to the girl, keeping his tone soft, soothing. "We won't go down the stairs. We'll go around, all of us, including you." The girl tilted her head, a slow, unnatural motion, as if the bones in her neck moved wrong. Her dark hair fell across her face. When she spoke, her voice was faint, almost swallowed. "She won't let you." Dana inhaled sharply. "Sweetheart, what is she to you? Who is she?" The girl's lips quivered for the first time. "She says she's our mother." Eli flinched so hard Tom felt the jolt in his arms. "She's not your mother," Dana said firmly. "Where are your real parents? Who brought you here?" The girl rubbed her wrist. Tom's flashlight caught the skin, raw, red, tightly bruised in the shape of fingers far too big to be her own. "They didn't come," she whispered. "She said no one would." Tom's stomach twisted. "That's not true." Before he could say another word, a chilling voice echoed from behind them. "Oh, the lies officers tell." Tom spun, lifting his flashlight, and there she stood, the Whisper Lady. Not a ghost, not a demon, something worse. Human. Tall and gaunt, with wiry hair falling over a face carved by time and malice. Her eyes were hollow but alive, shining with a wild intelligence. Her clothes hung off her like tattered curtains, stained with dirt and something darker. But her smile, that smile, was the part Tom would never forget. Thin, wide, stretching too far across her face, a smile that promised punishment. Dana stepped forward, weapon locked on target. "Don't move, hands where I can see them." The woman did not move her hands. She didn't move anything. She only tilted her head and let her eyes slide toward Eli, who was shaking uncontrollably in Tom's arms. "Did they tell you their names yet? Did they tell you how much they cried the first night?" A shiver crawled up Tom's spine. "Ma'am, back away from the children, now." The Whisper Lady's gaze drifted to him, unblinking. "Oh, officer, you don't understand. They need me." Dana took a step closer, voice iron. "They need medical attention. They need safety, and you're not giving them that." The Whisper Lady's smile tightened, her only sign of irritation. "Safety? Is that what you call the world outside? The world that throws them away, leaves them on my doorstep like broken toys?" Tom's grip on Eli tightened. "You stole them!" A flicker of rage twisted the woman's expression. "No, I saved them." She pointed a long, shaky finger at Eli. "From the man who left him screaming in a car for 6 hours, from the mother who traded him for a week's worth of pills." Eli's sob rattled against Tom's chest. Tom kept his tone steady. "Even if that's true, what you did next wasn't saving, it was hurting." The Whisper Lady stepped closer. Dana cocked the gun. "One more inch and I drop you." The Whisper Lady laughed, a soft, breathy exhale that scraped like sandpaper. "Oh, officer, you think pain scares me?" She took another step. Dana fired. Not at her, at the wall beside her head. The blast thundered through the hallway. Dust rained down. The Whisper Lady froze, but only for a heartbeat. Then she smiled again, wider, like the shot thrilled her. Tom shifted Eli to one arm, free hand reaching for his radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 14. Suspect on site. Multiple children. Hostile. Need backup." The Whisper Lady's hand darted faster than Tom thought possible. She swiped the radio from his vest, slammed it to the floor, and crushed it under her bare heel. The sound cracked through the hall like a gunshot. Eli screamed. Dana fired again. This shot grazed the woman's shoulder. The Whisper Lady didn't cry out. She didn't stumble. She only hissed, an animal sound, before turning those feral eyes on Dana. "You shouldn't have done that." Dana steadied her stance. "I shoot again, you drop." The Whisper Lady took another step. "What did I say? Stop!" The Whisper Lady didn't. Dana squeezed the trigger. Click. Jam. Tom felt his blood turn to ice. The Whisper Lady lunged forward. Tom grabbed Dana's sleeve and yanked her back just as the woman's clawed fingers slashed through the air where Dana's throat had been a second ago. "Run!" Tom shouted. Dana didn't need telling twice. Tom scooped Eli into a tighter hold and sprinted down the hallway with Dana right beside him. The girl from the stairs suddenly darted after them, not attacking, but fleeing with them, desperate and terrified. Behind them, footsteps, fast, erratic, closer. Tom shouted, "Into that room!" Dana kicked open a door and they piled in. Tom slammed it shut and braced his shoulder against it. The Whisper Lady hit the door from the other side. Hard.
The frame shook violently. Dana grabbed a rusted metal shelf and shoved it against the door. Tom added another broken dresser. The girl hid behind them, sobbing silently. Eli clung to Tom, panting in ragged bursts. The Whisper Lady slammed the door again, then again. The hinges groaned.
Tom whispered, "Dana, she's going to break through." Dana wiped her forehead, breathing fast. "Yeah, but not before we figure a way out." Eli tugged on Tom's shirt. "She has keys," he whispered. "She has keys to everywhere." Tom's heart dropped. Dana's eyes widened. "Keys?" Eli nodded. "On her belt." Tom listened. Outside the door, the banging stopped. Silence. Then, a soft jingle. Keys, sliding into the lock. Dana whispered, "She's opening the door." Tom braced for the worst, because the confrontation wasn't over. It was just beginning. The keys rattled in the lock with a slow, taunting scrape. Click. Silence followed, thick, breathless, unnatural. Dana kept her gun raised, even though it was jammed, her hands trembling with adrenaline she refused to show. Tom pressed his back harder against the door, feeling every vibration of movement on the other side. Eli clung to his neck, shaking so violently it was like his tiny body was trying to disappear into him. The girl from the staircase crouched low behind the fallen dresser, her eyes wide and unblinking again, like she'd retreated into that strange, haunted stillness she used to survive. Another click. Dana whispered, "She's working the deadbolt." Tom felt cold sweat run down his spine. "There's no deadbolt," he whispered back. Dana froze. "Then what the hell is she unlocking?" The answer came immediately. Not unlocking. Unlatching. The sound wasn't from the door at all, it came from the vent overhead. Tom looked up just in time to see the grate shift. A thin, pale hand reached through the slits, fingers spider-like, gnarled, too long. Dana swore under her breath. Tom felt Eli bury his face into his shoulder with a muffled cry. The Whisper Lady spoke in a voice that seemed to float through the vent. "You can't hide from me. Not in my house." Dana fired at the vent, one last desperate squeeze of the trigger. Click. Still jammed. The Whisper Lady laughed, a quiet, breathy sound that made the room feel colder. Tom grabbed Dana's wrist, pulling her away from the vent just as the woman began unscrewing the grate from the inside. "We need another exit," he hissed. Dana moved fast, checking walls, corners, windows, anything that didn't lead directly into the woman's control. "There," she pointed, to a small maintenance store in the back corner, half concealed behind an old ironing board. Tom didn't hesitate. He lifted Eli with one arm and yanked the door open with the other. A dark, narrow corridor stretched out, a maintenance crawl space lined with dusty pipes. Dana motioned to the girl. "You first." But the girl shook her head violently. "She'll follow. She always follows. She crawls. She always crawls." "Sweetheart." "Go!" she screamed, a sudden explosion of sound after so much silence. It startled even Tom. Dana pushed the girl toward the doorway. "We do this together, okay? All of us." Tom heard the grate fall behind them. Metal hit floor. The Whisper Lady was coming. He shoved the girl into the crawl space. Dana followed. Tom ducked inside last, pulling the maintenance door shut behind him just as fingertips scraped the other side. The corridor was pitch black except for the faint glow of Dana's flashlight bouncing off the pipes. It smelled like rust and old air. Every sound echoed. "Keep moving," Dana ordered. Eli whimpered, "She's coming." And he was right. Behind them, the maintenance door rattled. Then, rattled harder. Then, the Whisper Lady hissed through the crack in a voice that slithered down their spines. "You're only making it worse." Tom almost slipped on a puddle of condensation before regaining his footing. "Left or right?" asked Tom. Dana scanned quickly. "Left leads deeper into the house. Right seems toward the back exit." Tom didn't hesitate. "Right." They hurried, half hunched, half running through the narrow passage. The pipes vibrated overhead, groaning with the movement of old water lines. Eli clung to Tom like he was his last safe place in the world. Then Tom heard it, a metallic clang.
Then another. The Whisper Lady was in the vents, above them, following their path. Dana's breath hitched. She's climbing along the ductwork. The girl whispered, "She knows all the ways." Eli whimpered, "She watches from the metal. She watches through the walls." Tom nearly stumbled. "How long have you kids been here?" The girl didn't answer. Dana whispered, "Doesn't matter. We get them out now." They kept going until they reached a junction where the passage split again into 3 directions. Each path looked equally wrong, dark, narrow, suffocating. "Which one?" muttered Tom. Before Dana could respond, a faint tapping echoed through the vents. Tap, tap, tap. A strange rhythm, too slow to be mechanical, too deliberate to be accidental. Tom froze. Not tapping, signaling. Eli gasped, "It means she's close." Dana grabbed Tom's arm. "Middle path, move!" They gashed into the middle corridor. Tom's boots struck a broken tile, nearly sending him forward, but he caught himself against a pipe. Behind them, something creaked in the vents, metal bending under shifting weight. "She's crawling fast," Dana whispered, panic rising. Tom looked back just long enough to see shadows move above them, dark silhouettes sliding behind the vent slats, following like a predator. Then the Whisper Lady's voice drifted through the duct. "You can run, but I always know where my children go." The girl flinched and covered her ears. "Don't listen," Dana told her. "She's lying." The girl shook her head, trembling. "She doesn't lie, she just changes things." Dana exchanged a quick glance with Tom. "What does that mean?" Before she could answer, the duct overhead dented, metal caving in like something pressed against it with tremendous force. Tom grabbed Dana's wrist and pulled her. "Go! Go now!" They sprinted through the dark corridor. Tom felt the pipe beside him shake violently. The Whisper Lady was above them, crawling so fast it sounded like bones scraping metal. The maintenance tunnel took a sharp turn, widening into a cramped utility room stuffed with cleaning supplies and broken equipment. A single door stood on the other side, a back exit. Dana rushed to it. Locked. She swore and pulled a lockpick from her vest. "Buy me 30 seconds." Tom shoved a metal shelf in front of the vent opening. The girl hid behind him, clutching Eli's pant leg. Above them, a screech of tearing metal. Tom looked up. The Whisper Lady's fingers broke through the vent slats, hooking, curling, forcing metal apart like it was tinfoil. "No! No! Dana, hurry!" Tom yelled. Dana worked quickly, hands trembling but efficient. Almost. Got it." Eli's breath hitched. "She's dropping down." The vent bulged outward, straining. Crack. Another inch. Dana's pick slipped. "Damn it." The Whisper Lady's face appeared behind the widening gap, her smile twisted, her eyes shining with a sick, ecstatic hunger. "Come here," she whispered sweetly. The girl screamed. Tom grabbed the broken mop handle on the floor and swung it upward with all his strength. The wood slammed against the woman's hand. Bones cracked. The Whisper Lady snarled, a horrifying sound halfway human and animal. Tom struck again, and again. Dana shouted, "Open!" The lock clicked. She kicked the door open, and daylight spilled into the room, a sudden burst of freedom. Tom grabbed Eli in one arm, the girl in the other, and shoved them toward the exit. Dana held the door. "Move!" They sprinted out into the cold twilight air behind the house, stumbling into a narrow yard choked with weeds and rusted debris. Tom didn't stop. He ran until the house was several yards behind them, until grass turned to dirt, until the Whisper Lady's shrieks from inside became muffled by distance. But not far enough, because as Tom looked back, he realized something. The house wasn't retreating. She was coming, and the fallout had only just begun.
Tom had been on dozens of calls where danger lingered long after the adrenaline faded, but none like this. Because as they ran from the house, Eli clinging to his neck, the girl sprinting barefoot beside Dana, the night around them didn't feel like escape. It felt like pursuit. Every sound seemed too close, too sharp, too wrong. The trees lining the backyard looked bent inward, as if pulled by some invisible gravity toward the woman's house. The air itself felt thick, resisting every breath. Tom didn't slow. He kept running until they reached the old chain-link perimeter fence that bordered the abandoned inlet road behind the property. rusted wire, half collapsed in sections, vines choking its base. Dana reached it first. "We need to get these kids over," she said, catching her breath. "Tom, help me lift Eli." Eli shook violently, whispering, "She's coming, she's coming, she knows when we leave." Tom didn't ask what that meant. He pushed the boy up and over the fence, lowering him on the other side. Dana lifted the girl next. Then Tom swung himself over, landing hard on his boots. For a full 3 seconds, there was nothing. No footsteps, no whispers, no creaking metal, just the wind rustling the weeds. Dana pressed her back to the fence, her chest heaving, weapons still jammed in her hand. "We made it." Tom swallowed hard. Don't say that yet. Because he knew a truth about fear. Silence didn't always mean safety. Sometimes it meant the world was holding its breath. He knelt to check Eli's shivering hands. "You okay, buddy?" Eli's small voice cracked. She told me she wasn't done." Tom felt ice settle in his stomach. Dana knelt beside the girl. "What about you? Are you hurt?" The girl stared past her at the house. Then her lips moved. "She doesn't like losing." The words hung thick between them. Tom stood immediately. "We need to call backup. Full response, everyone." Dana lifted her radio. "Dispatch, this is Delta 4. We have..." Static. Not broken static, jammed static, low, humming interference that vibrated in a strange, pulsing rhythm. The same rhythm they heard inside the house. Dana tapped the side of the radio. "Dispatch, do you copy? We have..." Static again, this time followed by something else. A whisper. Just one word. "Come back." Dana froze. Tom took the radio from her, speaking loudly, firmly. "Dispatch, respond now. We need immediate units to..." The whisper again. This time it was his name. Tom. Dana backed up a step, her voice shaking. "She's on our channel." "That's impossible," Tom whispered. And yet, her voice leaked through the static, soft but clear. "You took something of mine." Eli screamed, covering his ears. Tom grabbed the radio and shut it off instantly, shoving it into his vest. "We're leaving, now." They ran across the narrow inlet road, boots crunching gravel, breaths sharp in the cold air. The road winded back toward town, dimly lit by an aging street lamp. Dana slowed as they reached the curb. Tom turned. "Why'd you stop?" She pointed to the far end of the road. A single figure stood under the street lamp. Tall, thin, motionless. The Whisper Lady. Tom's breath caught. "That's not possible. She was inside. She can't..." "She's here," Dana whispered. The figure didn't move, didn't sway, didn't breathe, just stood, waiting. Tom shielded the kids behind him. "Back up slowly," Dana whispered. "If she comes closer, we run into the woods." Tom nodded, then froze, because she did move. Not forward, not toward them. Her head turned, slowly, in a bone-cracking, unnatural arc far past what any neck should allow, until her face was looking directly at them. Tom felt the world tilt. Dana exhaled shakily. "Dear God!" The Whisper Lady spoke without her mouth moving, her voice drifting across the distance like cold air sliding under a door. "Return them." The girl whimpered. "We aren't hers! We aren't!" Eli sobbed. "She said we belong now." Tom clenched his jaw. "No one is taking you, not on my watch." Dana took a shaky step forward, weapon raised out of instinct rather than utility. "You don't get to claim children. You don't get to own anyone." The Whisper Lady shifted. Just a flicker. Fast. Too fast. One moment she was under the lamp, the next she was halfway down the road. Tom's breath locked in his chest. "Back! Move!" They retreated toward the tree line, pushing the kids behind them. Dana whispered, "She's cutting off the road." Tom swallowed hard. "Then we go through the woods." He practically lifted the kids forward. Dana guided the girl, keeping her hand on the child's back as they rushed into the dark stretch of trees behind the inlet. Branches snapped underfoot, cold night air stung their lungs. But even surrounded by forest, they could feel her, close, tracking them.
The girl whispered breathlessly. She can hear thoughts in the trees. She hears everything. Dana grabbed her shoulders, forcing eye contact. Not in here. Not while we're with you. You hear me? You're safe. But Tom knew safety was a fragile thing, thin as air, easy to break. They jogged deeper into the woods until they reached a clearing. Tom stopped to catch his breath, leaning on his knees. Dana scanned the tree line. I don't see her. Tom did. Not visibly, but in the way the woods felt wrong. Too quiet, too still, too expectant. He pulled Dana aside. We need to get them somewhere safe, away from this place entirely. She nodded. We take them to the station, lock it down, call in Sheriff Brandt, State Police, FBI if we have to. Tom looked at Eli and the girl, two terrified kids who looked like they hadn't seen sunlight or safety in weeks. He lowered his voice. Dana, what do we tell the sheriff? That a woman teleported out of vents and spoke through static and knows our names? Dana didn't answer immediately. Then she whispered, We tell him the truth. Tom exhaled slowly. He'll think we're losing it. Then we take the body cams with us. Footage won't lie. Tom's heart plummeted. Dana, what? The body cams. Both of them had been knocked off in the house. He pictured where they'd fallen, on the wooden floor, near the vent, right where the Whisper Lady had crawled down. They're still inside, he said hoarsely. Dana closed her eyes. Of course they are. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Eli's small voice broke through the cold air. She's here! Tom spun around. The girl wasn't looking at the woods. She was looking straight up. Tom followed her gaze. His stomach flipped. On the thick branch of an oak tree, maybe 20 feet above us, a pale figure crouched in the dark, arms folded unnaturally backward, head tilted sideways, watching, waiting. The Whisper Lady. Dana's breath shook. That's impossible. But Tom didn't waste a second. He grabbed both kids. We run, now. Dana didn't argue. They sprinted across the clearing, hearts pounding, branches hitting their faces, fear propelling them faster than thought. Behind them, a soft, wet thud, the sound of something dropping from the tree. Then footsteps. Fast, inhumanly fast. Tom didn't look back. He couldn't. All he knew was one thing. The backlash of answering that silent 911 call had only begun, and the night wasn't done with them yet.
They ran blindly, branches snapping against their arms, cold air scraping their lungs raw. Tom didn't dare look back, not with Rex's frantic breathing in his ear, not with the kids stumbling along beside them, not with the knowledge that whatever had landed behind them moved in a way no human body should. Dana pushed the girl ahead of her, nearly lifting her over fallen logs. Tom carried Eli now, the boy clinging to his collar, shaking so violently Tom could feel every tremor. The woods weren't deep, not by any stretch. A 50-yard strip of trees, a buffer the city had preserved decades ago. Beyond it lay a narrow service road, and after that, the main highway. But tonight, the woods felt endless. Branches stretched out like skeletal arms. The wind whispered through pine needles like something trying to speak. Every shadow seemed to move if Tom looked too long. "Keep going," he whispered hoarsely. "Don't stop. Don't look back." Dana breathed hard beside him, but her voice stayed steady enough to anchor them. "We're almost through." But that wasn't true. He felt it. The way the air shifted. The way Eli whimpered softly against his shoulder. "She's following," the boy whispered, voice cracked with fear. "She follows different than people. She doesn't breathe." Dana flinched, but didn't slow. "You just hold on, sweetheart. You're safe with us." Another lie. Necessary, but still a lie. Tom felt movement behind them. Too light, too quick. He couldn't hear footsteps. What he heard was brushing, like fingertips dragging along the bark of trees. Every tree, on both sides, flanking them. Dana sped up, pushing the girl ahead.
Come on, almost there." The forest began to thin. Moonlight poured through the final stretch of trees, marking an exit, a way out. Dana exhaled in relief. "I see the clearing." Tom forced more speed into his legs, even though they burned. "Move! Move!" But just as they reached the last line of trees, everything stopped. Silence fell so abruptly it rang in his ears. Not quiet, not still. Stopped, as if the entire night froze. Tom halted automatically, raising a hand to block Dana and the kids. "Don't move." The girl whimpered. "She's close." Eli hid his face. Tom scanned the trees, gripping his flashlight in one hand, his pistol in the other. Nothing. No figure, no sound. Just the heavy, unnatural silence. Dana swallowed hard. Why did she stop? Tom didn't answer, because he wasn't sure she had. He stepped forward, parting a low branch. Then he saw it. A shape crouched high up on a tree trunk, 5 feet above them, clinging to the bark like a spider. No sound, no breathing, just those eyes. 2 pale, cloudy eyes staring down at them. Dana's voice cracked. "Tom, back up." The Whisper Lady's head twitched once. Then she descended. Not falling, not climbing, sliding. It was the only word his mind could form. She slid down the trunk, smooth, quiet, horrifying, her limbs bending at wrong angles as if bones were optional. Dana pushed the girl ahead of her, nearly lifting her over fallen logs. Tom carried Eli now, the boy clinging to his collar, shaking so violently Tom could feel every tremor. Tom raised his gun. "Stay back!" She didn't flinch. She just took 1 step forward, then another, her pale feet moving silently over dead leaves. Tom fired a warning shot into the air. The sound thundered through the trees, but she didn't react. Not fear, not surprise, not even curiosity. She kept walking. Dana whispered, "Tom, we can't shoot her. It won't matter." But they couldn't stand here either. Tom made his voice steady. "When I say go, take the kids and run for the clearing. I'll keep her attention." Dana shook her head fiercely. "Not a chance! I'm not leaving you!" "You don't have to leave," he whispered. "Just run with them. Move as a group." The Whisper Lady was only 20 feet away now. 15. 10. Her voice floated through the cold air, drifting from everywhere and nowhere at all once. "They belong to me." Dana yelled back, "They don't belong to anybody!" The Whisper Lady lifted one arm, slowly, pointing at the girl. "All debts are paid." The girl whimpered, "Tom, she said that before." Tom crouched down, voice sharp but gentle. "Both of you, when we move, don't look back, don't listen to her, don't stop." The kids nodded, tears streaking their faces. The Whisper Lady took 1 more step. That was it. Tom shouted, "Go!" Dana grabbed the girl and sprinted towards the clearing. Tom scooped Eli against his chest and ran after them. The Whisper Lady reacted instantly. Not with a run, with something worse. She glided after them, silent, fast, her body cutting through the air like a shadow. Tom didn't dare look back, but he felt her closing in. He felt her breath, cold, damp, wrong. Eli screamed, "She's right behind us!" Dana burst from the tree line first, pulling the girl into the open clearing. Tom followed, lungs burning, boots slamming against open ground. The Whisper Lady stopped at the line of trees. Dead stop. Her body leaned forward as if pressed against an invisible barrier. Tom stumbled, nearly dropping Eli. "What the—" Dana spun around, panting. "Why did she stop?"
The Whisper Lady's hand pressed against something that wasn't there, air that pushed back, shimmering faintly under the moonlight. Then Tom understood. He stepped backward, keeping the kids behind him. She can't leave the woods. Dana stared, eyes wide. "Are you sure?" "No," Tom admitted, "but look." The Whisper Lady clawed at the barrier, her fingers dragging through the faint shimmer. The air rippled, but didn't break. She hissed, low, furious, almost hungry. Eli pressed against Tom's chest. "She never goes outside the trees, never." Dana flinched, but didn't slow. "You just hold on, sweetheart. You're safe with us." Another lie. Necessary, but still a lie. Tom felt movement behind them. Too light, too quick. He couldn't hear footsteps. What he heard was brushing, like fingertips dragging along the bark of trees. Every tree, on both sides, flanking them. Dana sped up, pushing the girl ahead. "Come on, almost there." The forest began to thin. Moonlight poured through the final stretch of trees, marking an exit. A way out. Dana exhaled in relief. "I see the clearing." Tom forced more speed into his legs, even though they burned. "Move! Move!" But just as they reached the last line of trees, Tom's radio crackled to life. Not static, not the sheriff, not dispatch. A whisper. "Tom." He stopped walking. Dana froze, eyes wide. "Don't answer it." Tom didn't, but the voice continued. "You can run, but you won't keep them." He yanked the radio from his vest and threw it as far as he could. It clattered across gravel, sparking once before dying. Dana whispered, "Let's get out of here before she finds another way to talk to us." They reached the road and broke into a run again, the kids breathing hard but clinging to whatever strength they had left. Behind them, the Whisper Lady watched from the tree line. Still, silent, waiting. Tom felt her eyes stay on them long after the trees fell out of sight. He didn't know how she had followed them. He didn't know what she wanted with the kids. He didn't know how she spoke through dead radios, or moved through vents, or bent human anatomy like clay. But he did know one thing. This wasn't over. Not even close. The backlash wasn't the end. It was the beginning.
They didn't stop running until the silhouette of the sheriff's SUV appeared at the end of the narrow service road. Sheriff Hayes stood outside the vehicle, hand on his holster, eyes scanning the darkness behind them. When he saw the children, his face dropped from suspicion to horror. Jesus Christ, what happened out there? Tom didn't answer with words. He handed Eli into the sheriff's arms, knees nearly buckling under him. Dana doubled over beside him, hands braced on her thighs, chest heaving. The little girl clung to her jacket, face buried, shaking so hard her legs barely held her up. Hayes lowered his voice. "Get in, all of you, now." He opened the back door, helping the kids tumble into the seat. Tom slid in next, feeling his hands still trembling from adrenaline he hadn't yet processed. Dana climbed in on the other side, pulling the girl close and shutting the door. Rex jumped in last, curling protectively around the children. Sheriff Hayes slammed his door and shifted into gear, peeling away from the woods. No one spoke. Not even the radio dared come alive. Tom finally forced the words out. "She was waiting for us, Sheriff." Hayes didn't look away from the road. "I figured." "You knew?" Dana snapped, her voice cracking from fear and anger. Hayes gripped the wheel tighter. "I knew something was wrong. Not that. Never that." Eli quietly whispered, "She doesn't stop. She doesn't forget." Dana squeezed the girl's hand. "You're safe now. You hear me? Nobody's taking you back there." But the girl didn't answer. She stared out the back window, at the forest, at the darkness swallowing the trees behind them, at the shape she thought she saw perched in the branches. Tom reached back and gently lowered the girl's head away from the window. "Don't look back." The station lights came into view, a small, squat building with 2 cruisers parked out front. It had never looked more like salvation. Hayes parked with a screech, jumped out, and opened the back door. "Inside, all of you." He ushered the children first. Rex stayed glued to their heels, never letting them drift more than a foot away. Tom paused by the entrance, glancing back at the woods in the distance. Nothing moved, but that was somehow worse. Inside the station, fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The familiar smell of stale coffee and old paperwork almost felt comforting. Almost. Deputy Harris shot up from his desk. "Sheriff? What?" Hayes cut him off sharply. "Get blankets, medical kit, and call CPS emergency line." Harris bolted. Dana guided the kids to the bench near the evidence room, wrapping them gently in wool blankets. Tom collapsed into a chair, running a hand through sweat-soaked hair. Hayes stood in front of them. "Talk," he said quietly. Tom swallowed hard. Someone, or something, has been keeping them in that house, locked inside a hidden room. The girls said it was for years. Dana added, voice trembling, "Their grandmother didn't just die. She's the one haunting that house." Hayes stared at them for a long moment. Then he sat slowly. "Explain." Tom told him everything. The walls that whispered, the cold rooms, the way radios died near her, the fact that she slid down the tree like a shadow peeling from the bark. Dana added the details Tom couldn't finish. The children being taught to pray to something, the way the grandmother punished them for wanting to leave, the door that locked from the outside, and the final whisper that followed them out of the woods. Hayes leaned back heavily. He rubbed his temples, face pale. Then he said something Tom never expected. "She's been reported before." Dana froze. "What?" Hayes shook his head slowly. "Not her, not by name, but strange things at that house, complaints, vanishings, power outages, people hearing voices passing by the property at night." Tom's blood ran cold. "Why didn't you investigate?" "We did," Hayes said, voice tight. 6 times. Nothing. House was empty every time we stepped in. No kids, no guardian, nothing but dust in an old rocking chair." Dana whispered, "She hid them." Tom added, "Or hid herself." Eli suddenly sat upright, breath short. "She's coming." The girl squeezed her blanket. "She doesn't like when we tell." Rex growled, a deep, low rumble that shook the air. Hayes grabbed his radio. "Harris, secure all entrances now." But before Harris could respond, the lights flickered. Every bulb in the station dimmed, glowing a sickly yellow. The hum of electricity turned into a long, low whine. Dana pulled the kids close. "Tom." A cold breeze swept through the hallway. Tom stood up slowly. "She found us." Eli began to cry silently. The girl pointed at the front entrance. "She always starts with the windows." The blinds rattled violently, slamming against the glass. The pens on the desks rolled on their own. Papers lifted as if someone exhaled beneath them. Rex barked at the door, every hair on his back raised. Hayes drew his gun. Tom did the same. Dana pulled both kids behind the solid side of the desk. The air pressed in, thickening. Then, a chilling whisper seeped through the vents, the walls, the floors, everywhere at once. "You cannot keep them." Hayes shouted, "Show yourself." The whisper turned sharp. "Give them back." The lights exploded, every bulb bursting like gunshots. Glass rained down. The front door flew open, slamming against the wall. Cold mist curled in, sliding along the floor like living smoke. Tom raised his weapon, his arms trembling. "Stay behind me." A shape formed in the mist, tall, twisted, her feet not touching the ground.
Eyes pale, hair floating as if underwater, jaw stretched too wide. Dana screamed, "Tom!" She lunged forward. Tom tackled her out of the way just as the Whisper Lady lashed out, her arm elongating like a shadow trying to grab the children. Eli cried out as the mist brushed his shoulder. Rex jumped between them, teeth bared, snarling with vicious defiance. The Whisper Lady recoiled, not from fear, but from surprise. Tom saw it, a reaction. He grabbed the metal cross that hung on the evidence board, an object from a years-old case, and held it up between Rex and the mist. The Whisper Lady shrieked, high, piercing, rattling the walls, retreating inches. Dana gasped, "Tom, it hurts her." Hayes ran to the wall, ripping down every blessed item, every religious token, every piece of metal or wood with a prayer etched on it. Crucifixes, rosaries, old church artifacts confiscated from a vandalized chapel years ago. "Give them all to me," Tom shouted. He held them like shields, stepping forward. The Whisper Lady recoiled more violently each time an item came near. Eli whispered shakily, "She hates holy things. Grandma said they burn." Tom forced his trembling legs forward, step by step, driving the entity back. Rex barked louder, chasing the mist with the force of a trained protector. "Get out!" Tom yelled, holding the cross forward like a blade. The Whisper Lady shrieked higher, shriller, her form distorting, shrinking, dissolving into thick white smoke that twisted toward the open door. Then, with one final echoing whisper, "They will never be free," she vanished. The station fell into silence. No whisper, no cold, just the sound of 4 terrified humans and 1 trembling canine gasping for breath. Dana collapsed to her knees, pulling the kids into her arms. "You're safe now. You're safe now." Hayes leaned against the wall, sweat dripping down his face. "Tom, you just fought a ghost." Tom sank onto the bench, shaking uncontrollably. "I didn't fight her. I only stalled her." The girl whispered softly, "She'll come back." Tom nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "but not tonight." He put his arms around the children, around Dana, around Rex. "Because tonight," he whispered, "we run."